Welcome to Shaping a Greener Tomorrow, the podcast that dives into the challenges and opportunities shaping the future of the built environment within the UK. I'm Paul Terry, Managing Director at UPOWA, and I'm your host. We are here to uncover practical solutions, share success stories, and offer insights to help navigate the evolving landscape of house building and construction within the UK. In today's episode, we're exploring why SME house builders are at the heart of sustainable housing and how regulation, policy, collaboration and innovation can help them deliver at scale. Joining me is Mark White, Managing Director of Bargate, a leading SME house builder operating across the South Coast and part of Vivid. Known for combining thoughtful design with sustainability, Bargate is setting the standard for quality new homes in a changing housing landscape. We'll be shining a spotlight on the unique strengths SME house builders bring, the hurdles and opportunities on the road to future home standards, and the importance of partnerships, skills, and technology in delivering the homes of the future. Mark, it's great to have you here on the UPOWA podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
The main questions around today is all around the SME, but also the wider industry, how the industry is changing, how it's evolving, future home standards, and we'll cover those topics off as we go along. Before we get into anything, let's take a step back and look at the big picture. So, why are SME house builders essential to meeting the UK's sustainable housing targets?
So as an SME, we are very, very agile. We have the ability to scale up a lot quicker than the nationals. The only way national house builders are scaling at the moment is to go and buy each other. There could be a point in time soon where they've got to look down to the next size of regional to buy to be able to grow. Whereas an SME has the ability, the support, the knowledge to be able to go from building 50 homes to 100 homes. So it can double the turnover. If you're looking in the SME market is between 1,500 to 2,000 SMEs, if we could all produce 30% growth, it'd be more than the nationals can do, because the nationals can only really turn up the dial a small amount. Yeah. We are very, very much developers who live in the communities that we build. So, we have a real eye for being different. We need to be the credible alternative to the national house builders. We need to build quality. We need to build sustainable. We need to be able to, go out into the pub and be known and be recognised. We can't hide behind anything. So our reputation means that, we've got to deliver a better product into the community. We also, need to go and see the landowners, and they need to understand that we're here for the legacy of being a home builder, not just for the profits. So there is a big need for the market to recognise that the SMEs can grow at scale, but we need some help.
Yeah. Yes. They're similar in one sense, is that you build a product, but they're differently set up as a regional approach. Absolutely.
Yeah, and national developers build a great product. Okay. Yeah. They just build it to the same standard and style as the next door and the next door. We need to offer something that's a little bit different for our customers. Yeah. We're expecting a premium for a Bargate house over, one of the national house builders. And to get that premium, we need to build differently. We need to build smarter, better quality, more sustainable. We need to be able to produce a home that the customers will want to live in for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. There's similarities, but there's also disparity, isn't there? It's so different, completely different models.
It is. We all have a different business model. We are, heavily funded by banks and by challenge banks and by equity funders, whereas the nationals have, their own cash, so they can go out there and quickly turn that into sites, but they really need to go and buy big sites. And to buy a big site, to get it through planning, to get it started, we all build at the same pace roughly. Albeit if they can deliver a home in 25 weeks and we take 32, once you've delivered one and you're doing one a week, it doesn't matter what size of a business you are. So for us to be able to scale up and to get the SME market really, really buzzing will help with the bigger numbers.
Yeah. So the challenges and opportunities. So future home standards on the horizon. So we all know about that. There's quite a bit going on in the press and in the industry. What are the biggest challenges you see for an SME house builders in meeting these evolving building regulations?
The largest challenge we've got is we don't have the same organisation structure as the nationals. So the national house builders will have a technical department that's based in head office that could be 30, 40, 50 people strong, who are constantly looking at their standard house types to see how they can improve them, how they can bring sustainable technology in. We, as an SME, have to, each site by site, work out what the best solution is going to be for that house. So it's very, very difficult for an SME to be able to do that without the expertise. We're very, very lucky that the Future Homes Hub has set up the liaison group where we have Jamie from Bowway, we have Oliver from Barrett's, who come in and do some expert talks for us. We really need to lean into what the nationals are doing and ask them for the help, for the expertise to be able to understand it. Most SMEs have lived and breathed the whole process. So asking them to just concentrate on the sustainable element, very, very difficult, because if it's not your expertise, you're not going to learn it very quickly. So the challenge for us is making sure that we can do it at scale at a cost that is acceptable. I would never expect to be able to go out and buy 250 air source heat pumps the same price that Barrett's can buy 15,000. But what we've got to be able to do is make sure that we are leaning into the suppliers and the partnership agreements we've got to get the best prices. But for me to know the best product, someone needs to help me. And luckily for our industry, the national house builders are helping us.
No, that's great, because that collaboration piece is really important, isn't it? You look at all of your peers around the whole of the industry, best lessons, best practice, it all helps.
It does help because they've got data and technology that we haven't got. So they can sit back and go, okay, right, that product doesn't perform as well as it should do. Let's change it. We'll be on to our next site and we'll have customers that will be, pulling our resources back into the business for older product if we don't get it right. So we need to make sure we scale, but we scale with the right product and the right partners. The challenge for us is that we try and build a product that looks a little bit different. So if we've got dormers or we've got barn hips, it's very, very difficult to maximize the PV. So the good thing the government have done, they've listened. We've sat in a lot of meetings, or I personally have sat in a lot of meetings that have gone, we want to remain different. We don't want up and over roofs. And they've gone, okay, we want 40% of the ground floor or max fit. As long as you can prove you've got as much on there as physically possible, we can work with you. That actually for an SME works very well. We want to try and keep our build costs down. And that's where we are very, very limited with each business is only able to go to its own marketplace. So what we need as an SME for Future Homes, and it is happening, is the Future Homes Hub will actually put you in contact with the technical teams. Jamie at Bellway is fantastic. He will sit down and spend half an hour with you talking about the new HEM model, talking about the new version of SAP that's going to be sat alongside it to help you understand it. To say, come and have a look at our houses, come and have a look, steal some of our ideas. So what we need as an SME for the Future Home Standard is to all collectively accept it. We also got to understand that it's going to level the market. So at the moment, as Bargate, we're putting minimum of 4 panels on a roof, even on an old part of our house with gas or whether it's got air source, we still put PV on. And that's being done because we're trying to be a little bit different in the market. As soon as the Future Home Standard comes in, we're all doing the same. So what we've got to try and do as SMEs to be a bit different is find the technology that works smarter or makes it more of a customer interaction if they want to be. But we've also got to be prepared that the whole system needs to be fit and forget.
Yeah, absolutely. And that you hear that all around the table, don't you? And I suppose, as you said there, working beside the likes of a Jamie Bursnell from Bowway or an Ollie from Barrett.
Ollie's fantastic.
It's kind of like those collaboration pieces really help, because ultimately we're all forcing for the same model. We want it to work accessibly and we want it to be an easy approach to what we're trying to deliver. But ultimately as well, if you've been future-proofing your homes for a while, this kind of thing's only going to reinforce what you offer into the market.
And the good thing about this is that there's going to be then a marketing machine that goes with it. So if you're a customer and you just like the area because it's near a school, it's going to be a lot different now when you actually go, well, actually a new home near the school is going to have a lower monthly bills and, Octopus are doing zero bills to some of the other businesses. That is going to be a big pull for people to come to new build. So our job as new build house builders is to make it the best alternative to traditional second-hand market. Yeah. And then it's our job individually to make ourselves better than our competition. Yeah. So the Future Home Standard is going to bring a lot more people who wouldn't have thought about buying new build to our doorstep. Yeah. We've got to make sure that we deliver high quality, sustainable homes in a fantastic location that they can grow as a family. They can be, near other relatives. And we're finding as well with the larger schemes we're doing that we've got, mum and dad coming along to join the children who are living on the development. That is a fantastic thing to be able to do, but we've got to keep that quality going. We've got to deliver 1% better every day just to keep ahead of the second-hand market.
Yeah. And what a great mantra to have. I think if you step that 1% on everything that you do, then obviously your product's moving forward on a daily basis, isn't it?
It's about the customer journey. That for us, it is going to be very customer led. Yeah. And the more that us and the nationals do to promote new build housing for quality, the more people we're going to get out of the drafty old houses and, the inefficient homes. We need to drive the marketplace to us being the first port of call. And then if there's not enough new build, we better go and buy a second hand.
Yeah. No, completely. Obviously, another barrier, planning, we'll go into that. How's that affecting SME output and the ability to be able to, build sustainably?
If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have said planning was working really, really well. We had a good run of sites that have been delegated without having to go to committee. We had a lot of officers recommended for approval that got through committee. The last few months, there seems to be a bit of a shift. Yeah. I think a lot of the LPAs, when Labour first got in, was scared of what would happen if they didn't help build 1.5 million homes. Yeah. Seeing as there hasn't been any great retribution is a bit of a strong word, but there hasn't been any punishment for the LPAs that aren't producing. They're now starting to push back a bit on planning. Yeah. We've got to accept that if anything we get planning for now, or we're going for planning for now, we're more than likely to have a Future Home Standard. So therefore, just by giving us planning, it will be more sustainable because we're going to have to meet the new building regs. Yeah. So if we can get more planning now, it guarantees more sustainable homes because by the time we get the first spade in the ground, we'll be on Future Home Standard. So we need the help from central government pushing the local committees to accept that new build housing is one of the best ways that we're going to hit the net zero target. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. And then on the flip side, where do you see the biggest opportunities for SME house builders in adopting new technologies? So innovative designs and or modern construction products, let's say.
Again, what we can't do is be blinkered. What we need to do is partner with UPOWA and be able to go, okay, what technology is coming down the line? Yeah. How are we going to incorporate that into a house that we've already got planning for? How can we work together to be smarter? Yeah. As a traditional house builder currently, we are very much able to build a traditional home with Fabric First A-rated with gas, and we are with air source heat pump and with the Future Home Standard going to be producing what is going to be an old A-rated, because when HEM comes in, not sure what buzzwords we're going to be able to use for that at that moment in time. But we need to be building the sustainable homes, and we can't do that without the partnerships. The limitations and of product that's there will change each day. We've been talking to you offline of here, talking about, wattages of panels. There are so much more innovations coming through. Yeah. What we've got to do is lean in and ask you and go, okay, if we can give you an order for the next 2, 3, 4 years and do a partner agreement, you can go out there and secure the products for us.
Correct. Yeah. And I think, again, that transparency, collaboration and us working together is really important, but also making sure that we're in the market in the right bits as well. So you might see opportunities, and as I said earlier about being around the Brickability group, we're in a great opportunity to be innovative and look at where we can also support around other areas. So
which is great, because we buy our bricks, we buy our tower rails, we buy our radiators, we buy our PV panels. We've got the opportunity to buy, car chargers, batteries, all the bits and pieces that, as a group, you're there to try and be. You can't be a one-stop solution, but what you need to do is be able to give us your expertise in all of those angles to make us build a better product.
Thanks, Mark. I'm going to go on a little bit about you now. So policy, advocacy and industry leadership. So we know now that you sit on the board of the Future Homes Hub. Can you tell us a bit about the mission, the role of the SME liaison group, and also and how the liaison group is supporting smaller developers?
So firstly, we've got to distinguish the difference between, so I sit on the board of the HBF, and the HBF is a lobbyist. So the role of the HBF is to go to the government and go, we've got a problem, here's a solution. The role of the Future Homes Hub is to take those solutions and go, how can we help all the SMEs in the world scale up and get an answer to the same problem in the same fashion at an economic solution. So the liaison group, we meet every 2 to 3 months. We bring in guest speakers. So we've had Jamie, we've had Oliver, but we also will bring in government officials as well. So whether it's more civil servants, but we want them to sit there and to hear the plight of the SME, to be able to go, okay, they've come up with a solution. How can we help? So the Future Homes Hub is very, very much about knowledge share. The Future Homes Hub is about being able to help the industry be ready for, net zero. It's a long, long journey, but there's a lot of us that are committed to helping everyone be on that journey. If you're behind the curve, that's where the costs do rise. So there's a few SMEs that, due to challenges in the market, they haven't been building the same way we have at Bargate. So we've already breached the, if you said it's £15,000 to £20,000 from old regs to new regs with everything else that's going on with the new PV, we've already bridged that gap. But there's some people are going to be coming out to it very late. So Future Homes Hub is there to also help them and go, right, here's people who have done it. This is how they've done it. And, without sharing costs, here's really what you've got to expect that it's going to cost you. And that will help a lot of the SMEs really navigate through the choppy waters that is the new regulations. Yeah.
And I know obviously government recently announced the plans to back SMEs to deliver 1.5 million homes in this government. Do you think it will make a real difference? And if so, how?
Yes, it will do, because we can't do anything without government support. First and foremost, we need to all work together. So this is where we're talking about a partnership, not just from us as developers with you as our partners. It's got to be up and down the chain as well. So the government have a commitment to deliver 1.5 million homes. We all know that that's going to be a bit of an accounting problem. So what they will want to do is get as much as they can through the planning process and say these are ready to be delivered, as well as the homes we're delivering. But they've got to be at scale, and they've got to be as affordable for customers as possible. So the government are on the journey with us. They listen. I sit in a lot of meetings where there is a genuine desire for them to help. I think policymakers are the ones that have got to be next on board, but they've got to balance. They've got to balance the left, the right, the straight down the middle that's coming at them, immigration. They've got so many other bits that not just us. We've got to remember we're part of what the government are trying to do, but we're not the sole thing that they're doing. Whilst it's passionate for us about house building, they've still got to run a country that is going to be still able to afford to pay for the national health and everything else. So, we've got to be a bit mindful that we can't just keep asking for help. What we've got to do is go, we've got a problem, we've got a solution. Can you just sign this off? And we're finding that they are moving towards that. At the same time, they're all in their little silos. The MHCLG and Treasury and DEFRA and that have all got their own little problems they've got to deal with. we think it's very easy for them to go off and fix it. But a little bit like in the old days where we used to dig a trench and get the gas to come in, dig a trench and get the water. We need to be at government level doing the same thing that we're doing multi-utility services and go, look, let's all sit down in the room. We've all got a valid opinion. How are we going to work together? And we've got to make some compromises on that. Genuinely, that's the hardest thing to say to an SME, that it's not all about you.
Yeah, of course. You know, we look at the skills shortage that we have in the market, in the industry, and also the ability to be able to scale up at pace. There's two sort of key pillars there. And I think that the longer these things go on now, it's that, you know, we'll be looking at other ways of technology to install or to build. But ultimately, there's still a huge thing, especially for a contractor, to be able to give you those operatives at the time when you require them. And I think from that point, there's a wider conversation around the bigger visibility of it, isn't it? And when it's going to land and how we're going to get there.
But we all need to partner with people like UPOWA, yourselves. What works fantastically for us is I've got the confidence and I've placed an order that you're doing that in the background. I know that you're trying to go get the trades, trying to get the right quality, trying to get the right product, improving the product. If we don't partner with people and tell you what's coming forward, you've got no chance. No. We also need to, there's big buzz about skills. There's bricklaying hubs, there's plastering hubs going on. We need to also go, okay, from a sustainable point of view, we need a hub that deals with air source heat pump, but we also need a hub that teaches people how to install PV.
Yeah.
The good thing is that the way technologies go, and you're going to have a kind of a click format at some point where once the tray's in, it's going to be place. Now, we need to get the right people to do it, but we need the people to also understand they're working at heights.
Yeah.
So there's an educational piece to become, but we need to give you the future order book to go and find the people. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what's going to be coming up next year, how can you go and get the extra trade? How can you go and get the extra material from the suppliers? Why would you want to try and produce a 500 kilowatt panel if there's nothing in the market for you to sell it to? So we've got to do our bit to help you.
Yeah. It sort of resonates all the way through the conversations that we have as a contractor to you as our developer, is that collaboration and tie-up, it marries really well, and we make sure that we're fully on the same page. I mean, it's like anything, even with innovation, we're looking at how can we support Brickability Group, being the big PLC that we are. How can we go even further? What other measures can we be doing to assist? And then also reduction of headcount on site. Can we be doing more at the same time we turn up, you know?
But so, I would change your wording. You're not a contractor, you're a partner of ours. Honestly, that is the bigger piece. And as soon as we start getting others in the industry going, we're partners, we're together, and you start feeling like you're part of our team, I think then you'll get the buy-in at higher level management. You then get the buy-in because you're talking to the guys in the same way. Our guys on site will be going, oh, these are partners, we better treat them with a bit more respect. And then suddenly the industry just gets a better place to be. Yeah. And then if I'm a 16-year-old and I've heard all the old tales of what it's like to work in the construction industry, if we can change that perspective and go, no, we're all partners, actually it might bring more people to us.
It will. There's no doubt about it. And I think it's that kind of when you're in the classroom and some of those kids that didn't want to put their hand up, you make yourself feel comfortable as that working partnership to be able to put your hand up. And I completely agree with that. When we're looking at designing for a sustainable future, let's just try and pull onto that a little bit. What specific changes has Bargate made to ensure that the homes are suitable and meet and even exceed sustainability standards?
So under the SAP model, we were striving to have every home as A-rated. So if we start our design principles on that basis, what do we need? What technologies do we need to do? And again, we talked about earlier, it's fit and forget. Yeah. So I really have a drive in our business to tell our customers not to touch anything, because that's when it all goes wrong. So we are using the best insulation we can. We're using the most efficient air source heat pumps we can. We're putting PV on roofs even though we don't need to. We were early with the car chargers. We're looking at battery technology, but the problem we've got with battery isn't necessarily the cost, isn't necessarily how it's going to be integrated into our homes. It's actually getting NHBC and Premier and that to sign it off that it can go outside in a cabinet. Yeah. But how do you also put a battery in a mid-terrace 2-bed house? You can't put them in a loft. You can't put, suddenly you're bolting an air source heat pump outside the kitchen window with a battery, and you're then expecting people to enjoy their gardens.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find a way that's going to change how we do things.
Those limitations. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's probably someone who's just been born now who will create the new iPhone version of a battery that's going to be very small. It's going to be just clicked on the wall indoors. It's going to be fireproof, future-proof, and off we go.
Yeah.
We've just got to be patient.
That's it. Yeah, I think there's just a waiting game, isn't there, with that. All technology is evolving, and we see it daily, especially as we look at our full innovation, because ultimately what we're trying to do is enclose everything that we can offer to you as UPOWA. You mentioned the charger earlier, that we've created our own ePro 7 charger, and again, that was just us trying to look at how can we make life a little bit simpler and easier for you on site. And again, we talk about the removing of certain heads on site as well, so less movements around there, which ultimately reduces your risk, allows it to be the fit and forget, and it's down to one supplier that can offer you that
it's
service.
That partnership model I talked about again. There is the heavy lifting on sustainability needs to be done by people who understand it more than developers who are kind of jack of all trades. We are great as developers of looking at the customer journey, but we all come from a different skill set. I'm operational. There's a lot of MDs that have come out of being land. Trying to then get the right fit for the customers means we need to get the right partners, believe in them, support them, and bring them forward, which is, I'd like to think, what we do at Bargate.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Good brand. Very good. But I would say as well, so there's also a balance to be struck as well with regards to sustainability, and then also being affordable for buyers. How do you fit that? How does that work?
Well, again, that's the toughest of questions, because I have a commercial team, a technical team, a design team that all come at it from a different angle as well. We need to look at it from a customer perspective. So we've got to try and find the most sustainable solution that's affordable. And again, a lot of that is trial and error. We have gone from gas boilers to air source heat pumps. We've partnered with Dakin to make sure that we're being consistent. And I think that's one thing a customer wants, is consistency. In the bad old days, you would go into, and I used to work for a national house builder, and you could have 3 houses and it would have even different thermostats on the wall with each one. That's where we need to get away from that. So for us, if we can consistently say for the 250 homes a year that we build, we're using that model, then we've got a bit of economies of scale. We could pass that on to customers. The other side of it as well, from a customer point of view, is very much trying to find the technologies that actually delivers what it says. So it's wonderful having a SAP rating, but if the performance isn't there because we haven't built it right, because we've got too much air leakage, etc. So we've got to make sure we up our game across the board. But it's always got to be what's right for the customer. It needs to be sustainable. What we need on the back of that is we need mortgage lenders to actually give a real difference in rate for those who are committed to sustainable living. And it may be that all the data has to go back to a central source. And if you hit a certain target, then you get a rebate on your mortgage. They may not want to give it up front because they're going to want to see that you're living the lifestyle that we're hopefully helping them achieve. But we need something on the back end.
Yeah. If you were to look at now, let's say 10 years ahead of where we are, what key innovations and trends do you see that are going to be reflected or changed during that time?
We certainly need a decarbonised grid first and foremost. So, that is not in any of our gift. We need to make sure that the energy that we're bringing in is carbon neutral in the first place. Then, at that point, what we need to make sure is that the technology we're fitting now is 20 years in the making. Because it's going to be very difficult to say to a customer, you're paying a premium for a house, but in 10 years' time, you've actually got to take it all off and start again. So we've got to try and find products that actually deliver what they say they're going to deliver for a longer lifetime. So that's a challenge. But at the same time, I honestly think that battery technology needs to shift, and it has shifted. I'm old enough to have had the old brick phone in the car. I now can have my iPhone that's in the ducket out of the way, and there's no extra weight to the car. So technology will catch up. Yeah. What we need to do is try and speed that catch up, because we're delivering the future second-hand homes of I'm going to have to, in 10 years' time, I'm going to have to sell my then current product against products I've built now.
Yeah.
And I want to be challenged by myself in 10 years' time. I want to be going, how do I build a better house than I did 10 years ago? And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by leaning into the wonderful technology that's out there and finding it better, smarter. And from a customer journey point of view, they need to have the ability to be able to, mix tariffs on grids, etc. We've got to accept that everyone of a certain age now. So I will go, certainly, the future us are going to be people that are 10, 15 years younger than us at the moment. And they're going to want to do stuff off of their smartphones. And we've got to give them the ability to do that. So we need to make sure that our homes are now future-proofed for them to be able to just take a bit of kit off and put a new bit of kit on.
Yeah. And also locked down in many areas as well, so you don't tamper with it too much.
Yeah, definitely. It needs to. It's certainly, the good thing with PV, most people, all they ever do is go and take a photo of how much energy they've created themselves, and it's quite a nice, I've taken my gas boiler out, I've put air source heat pump in, I've put PV on the roof, and I've got an old fashioned spinny meter. And I can promise you that the days I go out there and see it sat still are the days that I really, really do smile. It's sad and geeky to say, but it is something that I then know that I'm creating enough energy for myself. Yeah. And that is what we've got to try and, project going forward so that can continue to happen.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to have customers that have faith in the technologies we're fitting now is still going to be there in 20 years' time.
Yeah, of course. And it will. I think everybody moving into a new home now is evolving. Like we said this on the last podcast that we did. This is all the owner of this house now being more tech savvy, understanding it. But like you said, it's reassuring, and you think, actually, I'm living in a very sustainable home that's giving me every opportunity to save as much energy as I can.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great message as well. And I think that future proofing, the way how you go about your housing stock as well, is to have that fabric first approach, but with all the additional benefits that you've got, really makes a bold statement. And I think, again, we enjoy really partnering with you guys because of that, because we work together on that, the innovation and the collection of our, let's say, expertise. It works really well together.
But it's good brand alliance as well.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want to work with someone that all they wanted to do was to fit PV and clear off. Yeah. Your design service, your aftercare, the team that come out and support the site guys, it's fantastic. It's, I can deliver to the business, this is what I want to do, and know it's happening underneath. Yeah. If we get to the point where we're partnering, or SMEs are partnering on the wrong people, then me having to, or someone like me having to jump into the trenches to go and sort it, that's wrong. Yeah. We all need partners like yourself that care all the way through the process.
That's really good to hear. Thanks, Mark. So, Mark, what inspires your vision at Bargate, and what must the industry get right to meet the net zero targets ahead?
Inspiration at Bargate. Well, I would say, so I've got 4 kids. My vision is very much, I'm in a position where I can make a difference for the future generations. I would like a future home for my children to be able to be a lot more sustainable, a lot more environmentally friendly. So I took the decision early to go future home standard as much as possible, what our best guess was. So we've been doing fabric first and PV for the last 2 years. Part of that was, selfishly wanting my kids to be able to have, future homes that are sustainable and deliverable. But at the same time is we need to be the credible alternative. So if we're doing that and others aren't, then the buying public has a lot of intelligence about what sustainability is and what sustainability can do for their average bills. So we've gone early to be able to go, right, okay, come and buy a Bargate house, because we've already baked in some of the stuff that's going to be coming forward. What we need to do right as an industry is actually deliver what we say. There's a lot of people that will sit on podcasts like this and go, let's be sustainable, let's do, we're on a road to net zero. Well, actually, let's commit to it. Let's actually show the public and show our buying purchasers that we are doing it, and come and have a look at a Bargate house, because you then see that we are delivering exactly what I'm driving the business to do.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Mark. My final question. So if you could give one piece of advice to SME house builders looking to thrive in this new era of sustainable housing, what would it be?
The best advice I can give, and I give this advice a lot, is accept your own limitations, partner up with the right people, join the Future Homes Hub, join the HBF, get the information, go get the intelligence to make your decisions. So I can sit in my business and I can do a risk analysis because I've got information. I haven't got heartfelt thoughts of colleagues. I've actually got raw data that says, if you do this, this will be your answer. So I am not the most sustainable, understandable technology person in there, but I partner with people that do, that I can then sit there and go, right, I can now make a business decision based on good information. So my one advice is partner with the right people.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Mark. We really appreciate it. And thank you for joining me today on our podcast.
Thank you.
Really insightful. Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for watching and listening. This has been Shaping a Greener Tomorrow, brought to you by UPOWA. Subscribe now to Shaping a Greener Tomorrow on your favourite podcast platform. Tune in and join the conversation as we inspire change to help shape a more sustainable future for the built environment.